Now, the City of Ekurhuleni says it's been able to turn around the finances of the metro and increase revenue collection. It follows its credit rating downgrade late last year, which it has since recovered from. This emerged from the presentation of the city's budget outlook for the 2022-23 financial year. The city's MMC for Finance and Economic Development, Councillor Fanyana Nkosi, joins us now to explain the city's focus. A very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. Your budget speech had some highs and lows for residents. What factors did you have to consider as you drafted this address?
Good evening and good evening to the viewers. It was a difficult balancing act between the finance of the city being stable and also providing service delivery to the residents. So that's why we came to the tariffs that we came in. As a multi-party coalition, obviously we had to go into some tough discussions, and we came where we are because our ethos this year is back to basic. For the financial for the term as the multi-party coalition. So our principle is based on that people get their basic service back, so that they are able to have their consistent power supply and consistent water supply. So in terms of how we came to the budget, was balancing between the sustainability of the city and also giving proper service delivery to the residents.
The city had also been downgraded late last year, but you announced some improvement as, of course, we see that it's been able to recover from a credit rating boost in April. How did that plan materialize? Okay.
So in November last year, we were downgraded to junk. Late April this year, we then got from GCR a credit rating. Then we got a credit rating of a stable. This is based on our draft budget that we presented in council in March 31st. That showed that we're planning to have a surplus of 300 million coming down from 140 million in the adjustment budget. So when they said in their comments that we have a stronger budget management, that shows that we are willing in terms of financial sustainability to go forward. So it was based on the strength of our budget that we got the improved rating.
Residents are now, since you've tabled your budget, in for some hefty tariff hikes for water and electricity. In fact, some MPs have criticized the budget, saying that it's anti-poor. What are your remarks?
In terms of that, like I was saying, it was a balancing act. And in terms of saying it's anti-poor, it's actually not correct. We have budgeted 4.5 billion rand for those who cannot afford that. They will be getting free basic refuse removal, 50 kilowatts of electricity, 6 kiloliters of water, and free assessment on their properties. So actually, it's not. When you say it's not pro-poor, it's not factual. There's 4.5 billion rand budgeted for those who cannot afford. And on top of that, we have brought in a debt relief incentives, which is 50% when on application from the 1st of September until the next September 2023, where you'll get your 50% written off, then another 50% in the next 3 years. So relieving those who are unable to afford. Then in terms of the other tariff, we looked at actually what is currently in the city, the fuel price increases, all the other costs associated with delivering those services. So we didn't just take lightly and just increase for the matter of increasing. We also wanted the resident also to receive proper service delivery.
Yeah, in receiving proper service delivery, we know that the overwhelming majority of residents in Ekurhuleni have been calling for roads to be fixed. They've been complaining about the state of roads. How are you allocating the budget there?
We've put on roads, just on operational, that deals with the potholes, the strip pavements, we put there just over 300 million. Then for asset renewal in terms of capital expenditure, we put just almost 300 million in roads. So all in all, roads has over 500,000 rands. Then in the adjustment budget, when we have proper collection, we plan to increase the budget on roads.
And just going back, MMC, to the electricity and water hike, you know, as I also perhaps expand on some of the remarks that have been spoken to around that, some have called it unjust, unaffordable. They're saying and concerned that it will lead to high consumer debts and suffering and worsen the current liquidity challenge that is being faced for the residents of Ekurhuleni.
Like I've alluded before, in terms of those who cannot afford, that's why we've put a budget in place of 5.5 billion rand for those who cannot afford. And those who are not working, are indigents. There's also a process where you go into the municipality and apply for indigent status. We've also increased a value of which in salary it wasn't done before. If your household is earning less than 7.4, they are able to register to receive those benefits as indigents. So of course, those who can afford to pay, we encourage them to pay. That's why we also brought another incentive for those who are paying consistently for 6 months, for residents, for business. On the 7th month, you'll be getting a 2% of your 6 months that you've been paying. So on the 7th month, that 2% that you've been paying for 6 months comes back into your pocket.
Perhaps
so we also considered our residents.
Perhaps maybe go back a little bit in terms of what may have prompted these changes, because NERSA and Rand Water were also factors that you had to consider.
Yes, like I was saying, in terms of Rand Water, we looked also at our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is very aging, it's old. The cost associated with us rebuilding those infrastructure is actually higher than proposed by NERSA. We understand that our resident maybe might feel it's steep, but it is in the long run will fix what we have as problem. And maybe when we go into the new year, when we do a different budget, we'll have those factors that will relook at the tariffs and adjust accordingly.
Very well. Let's leave it there for now. The city's MMC for Finance and Economic Development, Councillor Fanyana Nkosi, thank you for your time.